For everybody. Perfect. Well, so great to see so many of you here today to our Growing and Engaging Your Giving Circle workshop. It's really exciting because I know some of you have been here before, but we've actually done some work to just build out this workshop a little bit. And we've got Lane here, who is our new Director of Growth Marketing. So it's just a really exciting time to have her also share during the conversation, so you don't have to just listen to me this time. So I know most of you already. I am Gabby, the community manager at Grapevine, and I'm actually going to pass it over to Lane. She's been with us for, I think, just a little over a month at this point, but just to share a little bit more about her background and anything you want to share, Lane, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. I hope you can hear me okay in my slightly echoey room. Um, as Gabby said, I'm Lane. I'm the new Director of Growth Marketing here at Grapevine. Previous to being at Grapevine, I had a couple years working in U.S. politics from 2016 to 2020, and then I went into startups and have led marketing at two separate startups here in the Chicagoland area. So that is just a little bit about me. I'm so excited to talk to you all today about all things marketing your group, essentially.
Thank you so much. All right, so to get into the agenda for today, I'm just seeing who's here. Jimmy, great to have you here. We've got some new faces. Susan, great to see you as always. Tracy, from all over the US today, so this is really great. So this is the agenda for today. We're gonna talk about just getting started, a little bit around goals, motivation, celebration. The real purpose of this workshop is to give you some strategies from experts like Lane and also just our community, but also give you a little more insight into the platform and how you can leverage it to do this work. We've tried to make the platform easy for you, so there's also a lot of features you might not know about that are really at the click of a button. So hopefully this surfaces some of those for you. We're going to talk a little about leveraging some of our matching campaign funds, the importance of onboarding. We're going to talk through a little bit of a community engagement plan, then getting the word out. Then we're going to have a conversation with Jennifer Ains, who is our featured leader today. And then we're going to do a bit of a share out. We've got so many fantastic people here today. We've got almost 30 people. So would love to just have a conversation with all of you about what has worked, has not worked. So the first part will be about 30 minutes. And then the second part really is focused on getting those insights from Jen and then also hearing from you as leaders. But feel free to drop anything in the chat as well throughout. We'll try and monitor that and also surface your questions as well if you're unable to unmute when we get to that part. Okay, so for this, the first two sections here, setting goals and motivate, I'm actually going to pass it back to Lane.
Hi, everybody. So I kind of think of, getting the word out about your group is very similar to like any marketing campaign that I'm going to run about Grapevine. And the first thing I always want to do is set really achievable, scalable goals for what you want to both do to market your group, as well as what you want those different activities to accomplish. So the big thing I want to call out is set really sustainable goals. I know everyone comes in wanting to get like 100 members off the jump, but that can be kind of demoralizing if you don't do that immediately. The thing that really is going to work is consistent different efforts across channels to grow your group. So some goals that I had set out were things like, how many dollars do you want to raise in the first month, the 3 months? How many new members do you want? How many referral asks do you want to put out there? And do you want your fellow founding members to put out? How many social posts or events or emails do you want to send? Just to give you a little bit of structure. And then I pulled together just some recommendations for some things that we have seen from our groups when we look at how various folks have grown their groups. All of this is sort of guesstimations and guidelines. So if you're looking at this and you're saying, oh, my group doesn't have 20 members yet, that doesn't mean you're doing a bad job at all. I want to be really clear. These are some things that we've just seen. But if you're on a different growth path, that is totally fine too. That does not mean that you are a struggling in any way, shape, or form. So you can go to the next slide, Gabby. So the next thing is, once you've got some growth going, you really want to motivate both folks to join your group as well as motivating the folks that are already there. So these kinds of small goalposts can seem kind of small for you when you're a leader, but your folks who are in your group may not know about these milestones you've hit. You know, if you've raised $5,000 for a nonprofit and you're going to grant it out, that's a huge win that you want to post so that everyone feels motivated to keep doing this work because they see the outcome of the efforts. You know, a good thing to do is also to have really clear CTAs when you're thinking about how to motivate folks. So, you know, share this post on LinkedIn and tag 3 friends so someone knows exactly how to help. And you can even run things like competitions, like recruit a friend, and then maybe you'll be entered to win something or you'll get a certain amount off and things like that. So folks will feel really motivated to help you and they see sort of an outcome of your efforts. Speaking of, you know, outcome of your efforts, I want to throw it over to Gabby to talk about celebrating.
Yeah, so this is really important. It kind of goes back to one of the key things for you as a leader, which is communicating out to your members clearly. So really taking that time to share your impact, and couple that with an image, a video, whatever you can do, that is going to get more engagement than just posting something, on its own. So just a reminder there, if you are going to your nonprofit to present a check like this group, take a photo, assign someone to always be on top of that. Take time to shout out specific members who have kind of gone above and beyond for that cycle to I don't know, do something for the group or help promote the group, whatever it is. Taking extra time to do that can be really, really helpful. And then also having a regular newsletter. You don't need to do this, but we've seen some great examples of it. A group like Social for Good. This presentation will be shared with you afterwards, so you can actually see an example of their newsletter. But they share out very clearly about events that have just happened and what is upcoming. So they use that as a time to celebrate and also let people clearly know what to expect. So those are just some things we've seen work from other groups. And then in terms of using the platform to do that, there are some really easy ways that you can leverage Grapevine for this. So there's the first create the milestones feature that's under join the discussion. You can change the background, you can edit all of this text. And then once you create it, it's really easily shareable as well. At the bottom, there's that share button. So you can share it out on your other social channels, etc. I know in the previous slide, I did just say, include an image. You can't actually at this moment include an image in the milestone feature, but it is something we have put on our product team's radar. But of course, you can also just do a general post where you're attaching a photo or a video here. Video clips are also very, very effective. And there's a way to upload videos. You can see that in the image where I've circled it. And then also throughout the year, we also give you some tools that are really catered to your group that you can use to celebrate. So at the end of the year, you'll get a year in review post. So it will include all of your the nonprofits you've granted to in this really visual way that you can share out as well. You as leaders will get sent it prior, so you can edit anything. And then once you give us the green light, it will be shared to your group. So just be on the lookout for all these points that we give you to make it easy for you to communicate your impact and share it out with your members. All right, I am going to just double check we don't have any questions in the chat. All right, I'm going to pass it back to you, Lane.
Yeah. So, you know, one of the ways that we incentivize folks to share about your group or for you to share about your group is we add different mechanisms throughout the platform that will give you funds in return for bringing in new donating members. Something I do want to call out before I get too deep into this is I used a buzzword, and Renee, thank you so much for keeping me honest. When I was talking about how to motivate your group and how to get your members to promote your group as well, I said CTA, and I think that's a little unclear. So what I meant was, so call to action. So when you're asking your group members to do something, it can be really tempting to give them a bunch of different options, but that can be really overwhelming for folks. I'm sure you all might relate that this presentation has a lot of different options and it can feel maybe a little overwhelming to go through all this stuff. So when I talk about call to actions, just giving your members one specific thing that they can do to help grow your group is great. So, hey, I would love for you to share this on with 3 of your friends. Share this post with 3 of your friends. That will help us grow the group. That may feel like a small action, but it's really easy for them to take through mechanisms in the platform, as well as just an easy thing for someone to check off their list. So it's really clear what you want them to do. So I just want to call that out in case folks missed it in the chat. 100%. It's insider baseball. So we help you grow your group as well. So we think a lot about how you would like to bring folks into your group, and we add a lot of share mechanisms in here so that you can do that easily. When you think about where you can find referrals, you don't just want to think like, oh, I can send this to 3 of my friends. Like, that's great. But think about other areas. Like maybe you are part of a club. Maybe there's a neighborhood association group that you're part of. Maybe there's a work group that you're part of. Those folks are great to try and bring into your group. And when you refer someone and they become a donating member, you get a little bit off of your next donation just to incentivize, that good work that you're doing. And that counts for everybody, both members and leaders. So there's a lot of ways that you can grow your group. There's cold email, there's social media, and then you can actually ask your friends to do that as well. So we'll get a little bit more into the specifics of how to do that, but I want to go to the next page just so you know what sending like an email from the platform actually looks like. So when you send this email, I have written out a little template for you here. You can feel free to change this as you see fit. All I want to call out is if you can think of somebody who you might want to invite to your group, you can email them right from the platform. If you have friends on social media, you can message them directly on social media using this same template or something else that sounds more genuine to you. The biggest thing I wanted to do in this template is just say, this is why I started this group and this is how you're making the world a better place. It can feel really obvious to you as a leader, like obviously I started this group for this reason, or like obviously we're helping the world in this way, but it might not be clear to someone who's never heard of your group before. So just really focusing in on that piece can help folks a lot when it comes to why they should join. Last slide. So this is what the email is actually going to look like for folks when you send it directly from the platform. So you can see the whole message. They can accept the invitation right there. Just makes it really easy for them.
All right, before I go on to onboarding, does anyone have any questions or anything they want to add specifically to those points about your group or something you've tried there that has worked or hasn't worked? Just pause for 1 minute. And that's a good call out in the chat, actually, Emily, about video. You can upload videos and you can also just drop a link as well in those posts. All right, so I'm going to move on to spending time onboarding new members. This is actually something I originally didn't have in the first iteration of this presentation many months ago, but in speaking with leaders, it became very clear that this is actually one of the most important things you can do for your group in terms of engagement, because your newest members are the biggest opportunity for you. And the very first point of contact is what people are going to remember. So this is a key thing to think about. I think there's a stat that if you're someone new to your community doesn't engage in the first week, then it's like 80% more likely they won't engage. So just something to think about, really using those new members as an opportunity for growth and for engagement within your group. Okay, so I'm going to share a lot of ideas with you. This is sourced, a lot of these, from what our groups are doing. You do not need to take all of these. I think the key takeaway for you is trying to assign someone to be that welcome committee, whether that's a person or just some members in your group who are tasked with looking at who has newly joined your group, introducing yourselves as a leadership team, and giving your members an understanding of what is coming up. You can really easily see your new members just by going to your members tab and filtering by the member since date. So that might be useful to do that weekly, whatever it is, just so you can get a good sense of who those new members actually are. And then you'll also be able to dig into them a little bit more in the impact tab if you want to see if they've set up a donation yet, or maybe they haven't, to give yourself a little bit more information. But just to see generally when they joined, that is the place to do it, the members tab. So yeah, as I said, really assigning someone to do this, it is pretty important. So I would make that a clear role for someone. We have a checklist for you as well that's included in this presentation for sort of how to welcome people in. So that's all here for you. There's also a bit of a welcome packet that is a resource from Philanthropy Together. So that's also a nice thing just to look at that's in here. We have had lots of leaders say that when they welcome in new members, and you can do this as an email, you'll get in that member CSV file you see there, you'll see people's emails as long as they've decided to share it, or you can direct message people through the platform itself. It's really up to you how you want to do this, but there are ways to do it just through the platform as well. We've seen a lot of our leaders actually include like a Calendly link. And for anyone who's not familiar with that, it's just a scheduling link. There are lots of tools to do this. Calendly is free, so it's a really easy one. We use it at Grapevine, and they'll just share that. So the member will have someone to connect with on the leadership team right away if they want to, and they'll just encourage them to set up a 10-minute conversation with them. Or we also have a leader in Longmount who goes to a coffee shop once a month and just tells members to come. And I also think our Albuquerque, one of our Albuquerque groups does like a tea time as well, where they invite people just to come to a coffee shop. So that's a great tip. Some other things here as well. When you have new members, you can tag them in a general post to your group. So there's an example here from one of our groups, but you can see I put here a warm welcome to the other new members. You can tag people in that way. That's just a nice, easy way to call out people who are new to the group. I just touched upon this, but as I mentioned, some groups will actually hold monthly new member coffee chats in person or virtually. And even if some people say I did that and one person came, that's okay. These groups start small. You want that one-on-one intimate connection anyway. So I wouldn't get too hung up on the number of people who come to those, more just that people are coming and are, keen to learn more. Just responding to questions and comments on your page weekly. It's nice to keep on top of this, because if there's an unanswered question, it might look like to members that it's not an active group or whatever it is. So just assigning someone, maybe that's the welcome person, to be on top of responding to questions, and not even just questions, just people sharing out comments, whatever it is, in the page. If someone is ever asking you a super technical question or something you just don't know about, just send me an email at gabrielle@grapevine.org, or our community team, community@grapevine.org, and we can always help you with that answer, or jump in if that makes more sense for us to be answering it. So don't feel like you have to answer everything, especially if you don't know. We are here as a resource for you as well. And then the last thing here that can be really helpful is just trying to schedule some events ahead of time. Whether you're doing granting events quarterly, trying to get the next two on the calendar, that can be especially helpful when you are welcoming in your new members, because you'll have something really concrete to direct them to and show them, okay, this is a real group doing real things. This is how I can start engaging right away. Pausing there, I'm curious if anyone else, maybe Anne, I can see you, and I know that Grand Rapids has been so active recently, and I'm curious, does your group assign anyone to welcome people in, or how do you think about that with your group?
That's fantastic, because I was just having the conversation with the group. We've been really spoiled with as many members as we've had. We've been a little overwhelmed, but now that we're, quite frankly, our monthly or quarterly donation amounts is going down in a way. And so we're like, we got to do something. And that was the first idea we had. Instead of trying to just post on social media, is to be much more personal with the new members that are joining. I love that statistic that you gave about the 80%. That makes total sense. So we are going to implement something like that, whatever we do, so that we can each take a turn as leaders, you know, of welcoming people. So yeah, I mean, we've been very active with a core group of people, but we have a lot of members that are not engaging, and they're still contributing, but I think they're dropping off because we haven't figured out how to get them to our events, or we're not personal enough, I think is one of our faults that we're realizing.
Yeah, that's really helpful. Thank you for sharing, Anne. And I think sometimes it's really helped people hear a lot from us as Grapevine, and it's so nice for them to hear at the local level or the more, the actual leadership team. So personalizing it can be such a key way to get people understanding, oh, this is the leadership of my group, and Grapevine is the community and the platform that is helping us do our work, So that's great. And something we're not going to touch upon too much today, but just floating it out there, something we've experimented with Lane, for example, is this idea of a breakup sequence. So if you do have members who have been in your group for a while, they either stopped donating or they never donated, we can help you. I have a resource where you can send them like a couple of emails to encourage them to donate. And then if they don't, you can decide to remove them from the group. Totally up to you how you handle that. But that can be a nice motivating way to, especially with some of your older members who you haven't been in touch with, to just touch base and say, this is what our group's all about. So are you still kind of interested in participating?
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing. So now I'm going to move on to a bit of a community plan here. This is broken up quarterly. Of course, not everyone's group on this call even is quarterly, but this is just a nice way to think about it. And also the majority probably is, just because this is the most common model within collective giving and giving circles. But this is really how you might want to think about goals for each quarter in terms of engagement. So the first quarter, maybe that really focuses on introductions. Who are you as leaders? Doing a post about that, having your leaders share out about themselves, a really clear welcome post on what the group is, how people can engage with it. Maybe starting to invite in some more connections that members know, to make it feel, to grow it in that organic way, and bring in that element. And then also kickoff event is always just a great way to get things moving right away and people feeling connected to the group. And then focusing the second quarter more on engagement, those weekly potential office hours or coffee chats that I was mentioning to you, getting in a bit of a cadence with weekly engagement posts. We have some groups highlight different members each week, each month, whatever it is. That's a great way to do it. And really utilizing that polling feature that is built into the platform to ask your members, hey, what do you want to hear more about? What do you want more of? Don't be afraid to ask that. I was listening to a talk earlier today, and they said short and frequent are how they approach polls. So that might just be a nice thing to think about. That doesn't have to be this elaborate thing, but keeping that communication going. We've had some leaders say, oh, we post a poll, but people don't engage with it. Remember that you can always share any post you make. So if you're not getting responses, take the link to that and message people directly. There's always that option as well. We'll get into this in a moment, but establishing an online presence, something to think about if it feels like a fit. A lot of your groups are already doing that. Actually, Anne, if you are able to drop in your Instagram link, it's such a great example what Grand Rapids is doing on Instagram. So definitely something to consider. And then third quarter, focusing on connections, if that's a member mixer, whatever it is, encouraging your members to self-organize events. This can be a great way to take this off of you as leaders and encourage your members to do some of that work and, empower them, inspire them to do that. And we have in the resource section of this presentation, a bunch of ideas around what you can share with your members to think about organizing. And then lastly, impact. We have a group, I don't know if Faith is on this call, but Social for Good, they actually do at the end of the year an impact focused event where they bring in all of their nonprofits from the year, all of their members for an event to just celebrate out the work of their group. And Faith has mentioned that it's been a really key way actually that nonprofits have gotten to collaborate with each other as well. So really trying to focus on that impact and maybe personalized thank you after someone makes a donation, or maybe their 1 month anniversary in the group, whatever it is, those really personalized touches are really, really helpful. Just take a quick look at the chat here. All right. Yes, the answer is yes. I can see, Scott, you're asking about office hours. If Emily or Lane, if you are able to share those with Scott, if not, I will include them in the follow-up for you. This will also be a resource we will share. This is new for us. We've created a 1-month content calendar for you. We've also written all the copy, so we tried to make it really, really easy. Of course, you can edit and change things as you see fit, but these include things like member spotlights, or celebrating that 1-month member anniversary, or sending that thank you to your members. So everything is here for you and you'll get it afterwards, but we're trying to just make it really simple for you to grab copy and change it and drop it to how you see fit. All right, so I know we are at the half-hour mark, and I want to make sure we have time to hear, of course, from Jen and also from everyone on the call. But before we do that, I'm going to hand it back to Lane to talk more about getting the word out about your group.
Try and go fast, but not too fast. Okay, the biggest thing I want to cover, this is a bunch of different ways you can think about where you should post about your group, who you should talk to about your group, how you should go about doing that. The number one thing I want to hammer home is that this is not a science. If you want to try something, feel free to try it. It is all about testing and seeing how it works for your specific community water hole in terms of messaging and where you post stuff and how often, which I know is kind of a frustrating answer, but it's kind of the nature of marketing. So if you see something that works across a different platform that you personally like to engage with, you see something on Instagram that you're like, oh, that was compelling, try it for your group. It can't hurt. And eventually you'll hit on the right combination of things to bring folks in. So the first thing I have here is just getting your workplace involved. This can be multifaceted in terms of how helpful this can be. So your workplace can shout out your group, and they likely have a lot of connections with professionals who you might not have direct connection with. They're also a great place for you to personally find members of folks at your work who you think might want to join your group. And in some cases, companies can even do, corporate matching and things like that. So work is a great place to start if you feel comfortable, but is not a need to have in order to grow your group. Next up is just posting on social media. You don't have to be active on every single channel. The goal is just to find where your folks really live. So I wrote a little template. You'll notice it's very similar to the email template I gave you. The main points for it are just making sure folks concretely understand what joining this group means and what good it's going to do in the world. Next, there are a bunch of social media ideas here. A couple I want to call out. So a lot of different groups find that creating graphics specifically for their group is really helpful for things like brand identity. So you can use Canva, which is a free design tool to create your branding, and they have whole templated posts for you to use. I know it sounds really intimidating. They're a great software. You can post about your events, you can post on stories, post pictures with your group members. Going back to those motivational posts, you can post announcements, and then just making posts that ask your friends and family to get involved. Comment on what local nonprofits they might want to see highlighted, what causes they care about, things like that, just to boost your own engagement. So there are a couple other ideas here, but those are the big ones that I want to hit on. And here are just some social media examples. You'll notice that when folks are posting, they're using their personal accounts. So you don't have to make a page for your group if that's a lot of work, if going back and forth between having a page for your group and your own personal social media feels kind of overwhelming, then feel free to use your personal account. If you're not comfortable with that, you can always use a group account too. So we're happy to help you either way, but I just want to hammer home that whatever works best for you and helps you get posts out regularly is perfect. And then I just want to call out Nextdoor. So we talk a lot about the screenshots I showed you, and what I think of when I think of social media is LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. Nextdoor is actually a good social media site if you're already using it. It's great. It's basically a hyper local social media. So it's communities and neighborhoods within cities. So some of our leaders have reported that when they post on Nextdoor, they get a lot of members from it because it is maybe a little bit more local than something like your Facebook that can be more national. We wrote some templates if you are interested in posting on Nextdoor, but if you don't have an account and don't want to engage there, I'm not saying that you have to, but it is a great, sometimes underutilized option for folks to grow their groups. Perfect. And then the last thing here is press. Sometimes groups have gotten really cool local press that have come out of social media posts and really getting the word out about your group. So if that does happen, that's a great thing for you to capitalize on and really get to highlight your group in your local community. But I don't think press is something that you necessarily have to seek out from the jump. But it's something that can very easily happen depending on, the members you kind of go after and the work that your group does. So this is just some really cool stuff that some of our other groups have gotten highlighted in their local papers, and I just wanted to highlight that. So always a good thing to aim for. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Gabby for the next section, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah, and one thing about this local press, we've actually heard leaders say that the way they got this press was utilizing social media, where their work posted about the group, and then someone in their alumni network who works at a magazine saw it. So sometimes it just leads to this organically, but giving visibility to your group is a great way to put that into motion. All right, before we turn over, any questions at all anyone has? And we'll have lots of time at the end as well.
Gabby, did you see mine? Did you see my question?
No, do you want to just read it out actually?
Yeah, is there a way to donate without becoming a member?
Yes, we can facilitate that. So we can have them, that person send us a check, for example, and we can direct it to your group. We do have some options that I will share with you. If you want to get funding from people who aren't necessarily a member of the group. And also, that reminds me to touch upon the company matching that Lane mentioned. Lots of, if you are at a company that offers matching, you use a portal like Benevity or whatever it is, you can select Grapevine and put a note, the name of your giving circle, and we can get that matching over to your specific giving circle. So that's actually really underused for anyone who has matching funds through their work as well. But I will send some instructions as well to you, to everyone, and about anyone who wants to donate who isn't a member.
That's really good news. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, now I'm going to call up Jen Ains to have a bit of a conversation with us. I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen so we can see Jen nice and big on here. There we go. Let me just quickly spotlight for everyone. I'll spotlight both of us here. Okay, so hopefully everyone can see both of us. All right, let me just pull up here. All right, so as you can see from that slide that I just shared, Jen is the leader of 3 giving circles. So I think I think my first question for you, Jen, is how do you manage that, and what about being a leader of so many giving circles excited you? Why did you kind of want to be a part of 3?
Sure. It's not about the number, but I do have a lot of help. So I have a lot of good supporting leaders. And I just basically started with one, OC 100 Women, which has been around for a while. And with the pandemic, stopped for a while, and then we did a big relaunch. And it just went so amazingly well, and we loved every minute of it. And I was like, well, that was really fun. Kind of want to do it again. And I didn't necessarily need to do it again, but I had some friends in San Diego that reached out and asked if I would help launch a San Diego 100 Women. And so I'm a co-board chair, as we call them, in San Diego. And then after that went really well, then I just happened to be in Las Vegas, which I frequent. And when I was there during Super Bowl week for some of my work, I was like, I am going to start a Las Vegas 100 Women, just because there were so many events, there's so many things happening there. And because of the way that we do our groups as more of an event, I thought there definitely needs to be one here. And this is a perfect place to do it. So in February, I decided that's what I would do. So we're going to start that one in September.
Yes, and I should have said, sorry, that you've got the 3 groups are in OC, San Diego, and Las Vegas, and they're all 100 Women Who Care, correct?
Yes.
Fantastic. And do you, Lane was talking a lot about experimenting and how something that works for one group might not work for another. Do you feel like with those 3 groups, the same strategy will work for all of them? Are you approaching them differently at all? Or how do you think about that?
The formula that we're using may adjust a little bit, but I feel like it's been the same for the most part. And so it is a little bit different than I feel like some of the other groups may be. And so some of those differences are that we are very much more event driven. So it's a charity event. And there's not as many bylaws for how long you're a member or rules that you need to commit, because we feel like if it's an event, sometimes people are going to be there and they can commit, but if not, other people are going to be there and they'll come. And we feel like we'll be able to keep people coming and attending every quarter, no matter what. So far, so good.
So you would say your main strategy has been event-based for your groups?
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Correct.
And was there ever a point, I'm curious, where you were like, I'm struggling with engagement? Did you kind of land on the event piece after that? Like, what was kind of your path to the event-based?
So when it was during the pandemic and there was not a lot happening, I just decided that I was not going to launch until it was big and we could start with over 100 members. And so I went in just knowing that that was what the goal was going to be. And so there was the stress of putting it together and getting it together, but just in my heart, mind, and soul, I just knew that it was going to be big. And I don't think that I could put the commitment in to do it unless we could go all in, right? And so yeah, that's just the mindset of it. And we just launched in February in San Diego, and I will say I didn't have complete reins on that one, but we still did a great job. I think we raised to $7,200, and we have a lot more people who've already signed up, so I feel like we'll hit it. But for Las Vegas, yeah, definitely a big mindset to be at $10,000 the first one in September. That's why we set the date out so long. And we have a plan for LA, and I just got asked last night for San Francisco, Bay Area. So yeah, we love doing this. It's awesome.
That's great. What would you say right now to someone who is maybe struggling with engagement with their group or growing their group? Like, what would be your biggest tip for people?
So, I mean, this is a completely different, I guess, mindset in how we're doing it, because of, again, we don't have like a sign a form, commit, you have to be here 4 times. We are just like, we invite anyone and everyone to come and partake and come and join us for one meeting. And I think that stops the barriers of like a big commitment. So for us, we just want everybody to be welcome to come. And if they try it one time and then they feel uplifted and welcome and want to come to another one, and that's the way that most people feel when they come, is they're just like, when's the next one? I got to get it on my calendar now. And so that's been successful for us, is just there is no contract to sign or anything like that. So it's a completely different, and it's nothing to negate anything anyone else is doing. I've been a member of a giving circle. I was just a member of OC 100 before, so I love the concept. But for me, we love events here, and so that's just the way that we wanted to go. And yeah, that's what it is for us. It's just they don't have that commitment. They just want to come.
Yeah. Also, I'm noticing you've got your OC banner behind you. Amazing. We've got some great questions for you in the chat, actually, Jen. So I'm just going to start reading them out. I think we've got 2 from Sue. Actually, Sue, if you're up for it and wouldn't mind unmuting, would love to hear from you directly around what you're thinking about for Jen. Sue Doc.
Hey.
Sure. Hi. I guess I could actually turn my video on as well, just to be, there we go, a little bit more friendly. Yeah, I'm just kind of curious as to what you're doing that's so engaging, because we,
Sure.
you know, we have people who come and they think it's great, and then perhaps we don't see them again. But getting them to sign that piece of paper means we can at least reach out to them. You know, if you're not recording who these people are, how do you find them again? And what I'm really intrigued to know what the format is of your meetings. That's that everybody can't, you know, wants to keep coming back.
Absolutely. So a couple of things. So we definitely get their information. So they're signing up on Grapevine. We have their contact information. So we have their name, we have their email. We are doing everything basically just through an Instagram. So in OC, it's OC 100 Women is our Instagram. And so that's what we have set up here. If we just post a save the date, that's how we get everybody to come. So we don't even need to send an email out. Besides, we set up an event in Grapevine about the next one. But if we just post on our social media account, everybody shares it because they can't wait for the next one to come. And I guess basically the way that people are driven or want to come is because it is an event and not a meeting. And at least here and in the areas where we come, it's 2 different things. And we still go through a format. We have 3 presentations, we have charities, we make a difference, and we do the giving. But we have found partners to really help us make it an event. We don't have the costs associated with it because we find venues who donate a space. We find a DJ who will donate time, and we have music, and then we have a great sound system. We find party people who decorate it up with balloons, and we find all kinds of partners. We find drink people who will donate and make a drink. And just to make sure that people are listening, we pass out 2 drink tickets so everybody doesn't have too much to drink. And then we shut off drink service during the presentations. So everybody can come, register, check in, socialize for 30 minutes. And then we start our program. We turn off drink service. We do our presentations, and then we turn the party back on. So we really do an event, a party, and it's very lively and everybody has a great time. And I mean, for our first one, when we did our launch, we had a red carpet. Like it's like going to a gala.
I think
Right.
maybe you're lucky in that you're in Southern California, where perhaps you have a greater choice of venues. Where we're in a very small town. There's just not that many places, and a lot of the venues, they need a guaranteed you know, income. So they even if they say, well, we won't charge you, but you know, we need at least $1,000 or something. You know, we can't really guarantee that.
Definitely. And I've for my other work, I've traveled to a lot of those small towns, and I know where you're coming from with those small towns and where you have a population of a couple thousand people. And so I know they're not all going to have the same type of thing. But just trying to negotiate in a different way, right? Like maybe there's no red carpets and different things like that. But you know, if there's a way where it's not like, where would you currently have yours?
We meet in a wine bar.
In a wine bar. So
And they don't charge us for the room, which is great, but obviously everybody's buying drinks and most people are buying
Right.
food. So it's good for that, it's good exposure for
Yeah.
them.
That's amazing. And so if you, even if you're having people buy, obviously they can't donate in that type of situation because they would lose business, and it's a small business. And so
Sure.
we find the same. So for us, one time we did it at a real estate office for our launch, and that was really lucky for us because it was a very popular real estate office, which brought a lot of crowd for us the first time. But the real estate office was big enough, and because it wasn't at a restaurant that needed the income or they would lose, we could
Right.
bring in whatever food from a place that would get the marketing, and we could bring in, and we didn't bring in a lot of food. We just brought in a light appetizer and a light dessert. So all we did was a charcuterie and a
Mhm.
small dessert, but that let different people be in charge of different things. And what happens is we have all these women-owned businesses. And so every quarter, different people want to be highlighted and featured. So we have a line of people saying, oh, can I please do the desserts this time? Can I please be the person to do the charcuterie this time? And so we have people
Yeah.
take turns. So obviously in a small town, I know that would be a lot more challenging. But if you're able to go to a place that isn't relying on the business from the food and drink, that's how we make it work. So this
Right.
time we're doing it at a co-working space. So it's an office space during the day, but at night it's a co-working lab. And so at night they don't have any workers. And so they're donating the space. But again, we're able to bring in those different food and drink partners who are just there for one time. And so they don't lose as much business. For them, it's their marketing because they know that it's going to be covered, because we do have media that want to come and share the story about how all these people are coming together and collectively together raise the money for charity. And they know that it's all those partners donating. So it's a better story for them.
That's such a great idea too, Jen. What you mentioned about aligning it with the mission of your group. So if you're a women's group, featuring, women-led businesses, whatever it is, and I would imagine doing that a couple times, then you're more able to go to other businesses and prove like they gave us their space or whatever it is, and this is how
Right.
successful it was. And so two questions on that. One, how do you approach in general finding your partners, your sponsors, your venues? How do you think about that? Is it through your members that you go to first, or how do you think about that?
Yeah. So at first, we use different people that we knew because I do a lot of other nonprofit stuff. But now, because everybody knows about it, like our next event is July 9th. We can just post, we're looking for a dessert sponsor for our next event. And everybody will message our social media and say, oh, I think so-and-so can do it. My friend can do it, this person. And we just pick from our group. So, or we're looking for a photographer, we're looking for this. And so we have our list of all the different things that we want put together, and we'll pull from our women. And the only thing that we make sure is that of our 3 nonprofits that are presenting, so like this last time, one of the women owns a bar. And she said, we can do it at my bar. I'm happy to host it at my bar. But because she's the one presenting, we just made sure that it's not during the time she's presenting. So we don't want to be biased to those people and say, we would love to use you next time when you're not presenting. So we try to make it fair for all of our people presenting by not, or someone who wants to do desserts. We just don't want it to be their dessert person when they're presenting. So we just try to be fair that way.
Yeah.
And now, we've taken all of those things that are our ideal things to have for events, and I've made a PowerPoint presentation. And that's what I took to Las Vegas, where I didn't have anybody, right? Because Las Vegas is new. So now I have this PowerPoint presentation that looks like a Vogue magazine deck. And I say, here's what we're looking for. A venue, we're looking for video, we're looking for food, we're looking for drinks, we're looking for this, we're looking for this. And then I took the video from our last event. Our last event actually was hosted at ACI Jets. So at the club, and they hosted it for us. So we have a really good video we made, and that's on my presentation as well. And then I went to go pitch in Las Vegas. So my launch event in Las Vegas is going to be hosted at the Cosmopolitan Hotel in the Barbershop Speakeasy.
That's so cool.
And they're just donating the space.
I love how
But
you,
that's really good PowerPoint.
yeah, and managed to garner this like wait list sort of like mentality with people where they're like, you know, wanting to give their space.
Yeah.
And the PowerPoint is in the chat that Jen has just mentioned, so it's fantastic, and definitely please do check that out. We have a question here around, you know, how do you manage for someone who's like, I don't know if I have time to do all this, I have a full-time job, you know, how do you do that? How do you balance things and lead these so successfully? What would your tips be?
So again, it can't just be me. So I have two amazing women in OC. The way we do ours, we actually have a lot of support in OC, but my two co-board chairs, the way we do it is there's just three of us. If we had a whole board of women that we needed to coordinate and meet with and have calls with and make decisions with, we would never get anything done. But there's three of us. And really, there's a ton of us, right? But there's three that coordinate everything and call. And then there's a bunch of women that help. So we have a lot of ambassadors that do everything with us. And we have three that coordinate. And the three of us together can get a lot done because we have many women supporting and helping. And I think that that's been our key, is having just a small board that has to make all those decisions together, and we make it really simple because again, we don't have all of a bunch of rules and things that we have to go over. We just have people coming to an event, we use Grapevine to take all the money, and we're done, and then we plan another event. And so when I'm going to Las Vegas, I looked for one person who could help me launch it there. And then we're looking for other great, amazing people that can also help support and make it get done. But I have one foundation person. In San Diego, we had a few more. So it was really hard to coordinate and check all those things. I think the bigger your team that has to make all those decisions and coordinate conversations can sometimes jumble things up and make it harder and take more time. So that's kind of a way that we make it simple. And then, yeah. So I look for someone who is a really good base person, not just names, not just someone who has a name or whatever, someone who's passionate and who wants to get stuff done and who's organized and everything like that. And we just organize, but simplify, right? Just make it easy. Because we have a lot of really amazing women in life that are just as busy as we are. So we just need to make it simple and easy. That's how we get it done.
Thank you. And yeah, that is, teamwork is, yeah, a reoccurring theme, I think, with our different circles. Can't do it alone. I love this comment from Dory. What do you do at your events that make it so much fun? I feel like you've talked about that, but I don't know, Dory, if there's anything you want to share on your end around what you've tried or if this is resonating. Sorry to put you on the spot there, but feel free to drop anything in the chat or unmute. Yeah, go ahead. Okay, well, I didn't hear you, but also I can see, Dora, you have a question around fundraising for events, funding and stuff like that. So we do actually have a bit of an early sort of program around that where we can help facilitate. So I will share some information on that in the follow-up, Dory. That's okay, Dory. No problem if your mic's not working. I put you on a bit of a spot here. So we've only got about 4 minutes left, but I guess one of the last questions I want to ask you, Jen, is how do you think about engaging with your your nonprofit grantees? Have you done much of that? Are you thinking about that? Just curious from your end there.
Yeah, so we're going to be coming up to our 1 year in October, since that's when we did our relaunch. And so we want to invite them all back. But we actually, not only do we engage by going to some of their events and their other things that they're doing, but what's really cool is they've all found a way to engage with each other and stay connected. So like this partner kind of mentored the partners after them and said, let's find a way to collaborate. We love what you do. I think we can work together and do an event together. So they're all just really forming great connections and finding out what they can do. So instead of competing for those dollars or different things like that, they're really forming great connections, and then they just keep coming and bringing more people. And the shout outs for social media just keep going for each other, and they all tag each other. So we feel like we're really connected to these women and what they're doing, and men. We've had a man come and present too. So it's, yeah, we have a good group of nonprofits.
And would you say that's your main growth channel right now, is your Instagram and people sharing that way? Or what would you say the main way you're getting your new members is?
So definitely through Instagram and social media, but we've had media at every event. So we were in the LA Times at our first event, and then had Channel 7 News at the last two.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just keeps sharing and going on and on. It's like a story that everybody loves talking about here.
And the media just through word of mouth from members seeing it online, or how did you?
Yeah, through one of the members. And yeah, now she just texts us and wants to know when the next one is, but she covers the nonprofits individually too. So they're really getting elevated.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Well, Jen, this has been so informative. I know we've only got 1 minute left. So any final burning questions or any thoughts anyone wants to leave us with or make sure that we get out there?
How do we get media to attend? Someone asked them to come, but I think like for media, just writing a press release of what you're doing or an email of what you're doing and inviting them to come is okay too. You guys, any of these giving circles, we're doing amazing work. You guys are all doing amazing work. So inviting the media to come. I know sometimes people are like, well, we don't want to be braggy about what we're doing. Be braggy, help share those nonprofit stories and help get the word out there for them, because they would love to have it covered by more people. The more we can do to get the word out and get them in front of people, the better. And you guys, like bringing women together to give in big ways, that's what we're doing. Everyone gives a little, but we give in big ways. So yeah, get it out there and share.
I love that. Just, don't feel like you're bragging. Get all this good work, this impact, put it in front of people. It's incredible.
It takes all of us.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining today. I know it was really jam-packed. We wanted to get you as much info as we could and learn from Jen and get all of your questions. So I will send out a follow-up. So if you join late, do not worry. We will send a recording and all of these resources. I've got the chat, so I'll comb through it to make sure I send everything that people were asking about. So thank you so much for joining, and we will see you at the next one. I'll leave you with maybe the second part of our Don't Stop Believing. Oh no, it's a little quiet. Here, wait, I wanna we started with Don't Stop Believing. And I think that that is something we want to leave you with and motivate you and get you excited about all this exciting work. So thank you so much, everyone, and we'll see you at the next one. Bye.
Bye.
You.
Bye, everyone.